Hiya, I'm going to show you this makeup look from scratch today, and lots of the tips in this video are about texture. So I filmed with the ring light on so you can see really up close texture in the skin, what a primer will be able to do, what a powder will be able to do, how to create a slightly more velvety finish. So I hope you enjoy. Everything I've used in the video is written in the caption, so if you click to make the video full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow next to it and a full list of everything will drop down. Okay, it's a really dull day today and I've got the ring light on, which I wouldn't usually have on, but it means that you can see all of that texture in my skin. So while you can kind of see that clearly, I thought I would use something I don't always use, a primer. This is the Blurring Laura Mercier primer. Now, recently, Mimi, you had asked me, I'm going to show you, by the way, I'm using about this much for the whole face. You'd asked me, Mimi, for some tips on acne scarring. And if you've watched these videos for a while, you'll know that I don't always use primer. And if I do, I like it to do something specific and I keep it just to those areas that need that job doing. So for example, today, I can see this texture in my skin. It's not all over, it's kind of in the T-zone. It's going to be next to my cheeks where the pores are a bit more visible. So I'm going to just take it where I can see that texture and avoid everywhere else. Now, not only is this going to make sure that I don't use the product after 5 minutes and need to go and buy another one, but it also means that, you know, there's areas like down the sides of my cheeks that feel quite dry, and that's just going to aggravate them even more. That's a tip that I've learned from watching Katie Jane Hughes' videos. She really made me think twice about you don't have to put everything all over your face. Just put the bits that work in those areas in the right places. So you can see already that's really reduced kind of the appearance of the texture. And to go another step further, I'm going to go in with a matte finish foundation today. Now, in terms of kind of texture or scarring, I think primers can be really great to give you a completely smooth canvas for that coverage to look even more flawless if you're going in with coverage. Now, this is the Lancome Tintidol matte stick, which has been around for a really long time, but they've just repackaged it so that there's a little brush at the end and you've got everything you need to apply in the one stick. Now again, I'm not necessarily going to take this all over. I'm going to go for the coverage where I need it and try and leave some other areas as fresh as possible. What I would say to you, if another question that came in particular about primer and prepping the skin and this, that, the other. Primer for me, unless it's doing a really dedicated job, like how this one has helped to reduce the texture, I think you can often achieve the longer wear from your foundation with the right skincare prep. So for example, I think a majority of people think, okay, primer, that's going to make my foundation last for longer. But if your skin is really dry, for example, you might be better off targeting the skin with a hydrating treatment to get a longer wear rather than just going straight in with a primer. Does that make sense? But another thing that I've been asked about a bit more recently, which this time of year, we're obviously now outdoors and in the garden a bit more, and the weather has got nicer. The next thing we've got to think about is hay fever. Now, someone said to me recently, it was Bex. Oh, do you know what? I'm glad you saw that. Did you see that little kind of crumble off there that's just gone into my hair? Fantastic. Exactly where I wanted it to go, for God's sake. That is because I probably put a bit too much primer in that area. And you want to go nice and gently with each layer, so that they don't feel too heavy or kind of peel or, you know, build up that bit too much. Long story short, Bex had asked me, I feel like this is not a long story short, I haven't done a video in a few days and like just short of telling you my blood type, I've not stopped talking, have I? Bex asked me, how can I get my makeup to last? It keeps coming off when I blow my nose. And she said, I'm doing everything right. I'm using my primer, my foundation, my setting powder, my setting spray, and it's still coming off. And the big thing that I would want to say to that is, Bex, you're doing everything absolutely right. and nothing will withstand blowing your nose. The thing is, I think a lot of us think, oh, if I just buy this extra thing, if I do this extra step, I'm going to get this different outcome. But actually, you don't need to spend another penny or buy anything else. If you have something like this that you can cart around with you, the best thing to keep your makeup on all day is to top up as you go along, which is the very long way around why I wanted to show you this foundation today. I think that's absolutely lovely. If you want a matte finish, a full coverage, really lovely velvety texture. Years ago when I was learning makeup at Peaches, that's 10 years ago now, we used to use the fluid version of that on everybody. It's a really lovely formula. Another one I would recommend to you, where have I put it now? For on the go, if you have your makeup favourites and you just want something, if you're blowing your nose a lot more, maybe little bits are coming off your nose and things from wearing a mask, that Maybelline Instant Eye Eraser. I know I always go on about it, but it is very affordable. You've got the sponge tip. You could just press a little bit of extra where you needed without disrupting everything else. But given that I've been going on for 6 minutes and haven't even got anything else on, let's start moving things up. So I'm going to go in with my traditional, I always use this brow pencil. This is the IT Cosmetics Brow Power. I'm just going to fill these brows out a bit. I absolutely plucked the life out of them this weekend, so I can't imagine this is going to take me very long. Okay, before I do my eye makeup, I'm going to start with a little bit of the Peaches liner in Sphinx. This is a kind of coppery brown. And then in the same kind of coppery family, I'm going to go in with this Nude Sticks shadow stick in the shade Rustique, I think it is. I'm going to do one eye at a time, literally just get the colour on in a vaguely kind of up to the crease way, and then buff it out using a fluffy brush. I'm going to do this one side at a time so that it doesn't dry before I've had a chance to blend it. And it is really crucial that I've gone in with this colour today, because this, for me, this kind of rusty 2p piece kind of brown is a colour that just really feels very second nature to me. It's one of my favourite colours to wear, and I like that it kind of makes my eyes look a bit more blue. Now, I'm not feeling very well today, and so one of my favourite tips for you, if you're ever not feeling very well, this is not the day to go for a new bright colour to experiment and make yourself feel better. Because if you're not quite feeling yourself, you're going to have so much less tolerance for any new things. And the best way to feel great is to go to the very bottom of your makeup bag, find the things that you've had for however long that you just know are your fail-safe things that suit you. And that is the best thing to wear if you're having one of those days. Because another day that you just kind of, you know, wearing a new dress, up for a new colour, you'll really enjoy that experimenting. But when it's that time of the month, like it is for me today, the last thing that's going to make you feel good is like some bright colour that you've talked yourself into, that you just end up losing patience with after 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to take this underneath the eye as well. And then just to give that a little wash of warmth, I'm very aware that because I've got that ring light on, I feel a bit more washed out on the camera. And I think by the time I finish the video, I'll feel like I've got a little bit more life in my cheeks. But for now, I'm going to take a tiny bit of the bronzing powder that I'm planning to use on my complexion and just take it through that little crease so that I've got a little bit of that warmth tied into the eye makeup too. Okay, just to finish those eyes, I'm going to go in with loads of mascara on the top and the bottom. And just to say, in the same way that you would wash your makeup brushes, if your mascara is feeling like it's a bit clumpy or loads of mascara is getting on your lashes and then you're spending forever trying to soften them out, just give the wand itself a little wash in some warm soapy water. I did that yesterday and this mascara that was feeling really, really full has just softened a little bit and I feel a bit more in control. Okay, now I want to give myself quite a natural looking bronze, and so in order to do that, I'm going to go in with the airbrush powder and bronzer brush from It Cosmetics because it's enormous, and use some of my bronzing powder on this. What this means that it's so large is that it won't necessarily leave chiseled lines. It'll give me a nice wash of warmth all over. And I'm going to really gently build this, in particular kind of through the cheeks and the hairline. I don't want it to look artificial, but at the same time, the hairline, I'm going to need to pack a bit more product onto because I didn't use as much foundation in those areas. So where this would stick really well to a matte foundation, I'm going to have to kind of build a bit more of this bronze on bare skin. Okay, there we go. That's feeling quite nice. I'm also going to go in with a Nude Sticks. This is the shade Bohemian Rose. It's a cream blusher. You can use any kind of cream blusher you like. I'm actually going to take this on a slightly smaller brush. Now, Hells, you had asked me recently for some tips on blusher and bronzer placement. And one of the things I would say is that if you go ever so slightly higher with your blusher, it can give you a real lift to the complexion. But also, I think it makes you look like you've got less makeup on because those areas would naturally flush. Now, I know this might seem a bit counterintuitive, given that half the time I'm harping on about covering redness, but I'm even going to put a little touch of this down the nose and it makes everything look more natural. I mean, I've put loads on there. Do you know what I'm going to do? Just to salvage like what has gone on here, I'm going to take the little brush at the end of that foundation and just find a happy medium here. But the thing is, if you were actually in the garden, you wouldn't just go pink where is going to look nice on a makeup. You'd go pink in a few key parts of the face, even through the temples here a little bit, and just a tiny little, you know, whatever was left on your brush taken through those areas can make you look naturally a little bit more windswept, pull the whole thing together. I'm going to take a tiny bit of that on the lips as well. And then, surprise, surprise, I'm going to go in with Pillow Talk lip liner. Now, this lip liner for me is the closest thing I've found to my natural lip colour. And I'd tell you, whatever your lip colour is, find a lip liner that's pretty much a dead match for it. And again, it's just going to feel like an amplified version of your own lips. And for the likes of me today, who just wants a simple, feel really nice and polished makeup look, it just feels like a sharpened version of what was here already. There we go. I already had some lip balm on, so I've just put that all over. And then just while I've got the ring light on, actually, I'm going to show you the difference it can make. I'm going to take a little bit of the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Translucent Setting Powder and a flat, this is a MAC 132 brush. Just press a little bit of powder over anywhere that you want to diffuse the appearance of any texture, and it will soften it out. And again, nothing is going to completely remove that. You know, that's the nature of my skin, that might be the nature of your skin. But just to give a more matte, velvety finish, rather than keeping the glow in those places, can mean that you've diffused, again, back to your question, Mimi, it just helps to diffuse that texture, soften the appearance of it, make it so that that isn't what's catching the light. What is hopefully catching the light is that lovely blusher, things like your eyes, and then you're detracting from any of that texture elsewhere. And just to mention, I cannot emphasize enough, that brush is barely touching my skin. I don't want you to use too much pressure because you'll rub off all of the coverage. Just gently press it on and that'll really help to soften anything that you're trying to kind of detract from. Okay, well, thanks so much for watching. I really hope it was helpful. As always, if you've got any questions or you want to see a video on anything, please feel free to let me know here in the comments. I don't read my DMs, but I always read the comments here, so I'll come back to anything. But have a lovely day and I'll chat to you again very soon.